I want to play a couple of ads for you in this segment. The first coming from an organization called Really American, and they released an ad called #Trump the Dictator, and it's a brutal one, but spot on. And while you're watching this, I will let you know that I'll put the link to this YouTube channel, Really American, in the description of this video if you want to check it out. Great work being done there, but here it is.
President Putin was very, very strong.
He even called me brilliant. Isn't that nice?
Putin has much better leadership qualities than Obama.
I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be.
Kim Jong-un, he really has been very open, I think very honorable.
He's the boss. It's incredible. He wiped out the uncle. He wiped out this one, that one. And then we fell in love.
He wrote me beautiful letters.
Kim is a brutal dictator. He runs a police state, a forced starvation, labor camps. He's assassinating members of his own family. How do you trust a killer like that?
I'm going to really quickly pause your viewing of this video to ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just click that subscribe button plus the like button as well and the alert bell so you get notifications. Back to it.
I met him. I've spoken with him. I think that he really wants to do a great job for North Korea. His country does love him. They have a great fervor.
I like the Saudis. They're very nice. I make a lot of money with them. They buy all sorts of my stuff, all kinds of toys from Trump. They pay me millions and hundreds of millions.
And I get along great with all of them. They buy apartments from me. They spend 40 million, 50 million. We are with Saudi Arabia. We're staying with Saudi Arabia.
We've become very good friends.
NATO is obsolete. The European Union is a foe. The European Union was set up to take advantage of the United States.
We're not negotiating with Canada right now. Germany is a disgrace.
You didn't pay, you're delinquent. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. I'm going to be a dictator for one day.
You know, we've talked a lot about Trump's admiration for authoritarians across the world, and still, I'd forgotten about some of those moments. Pretty dang wild. And again, I'll put the Really American YouTube link in the description if you want to check that out. But before even the most overt expression of his authoritarian ambitions, before that happened and we saw it in real life where he actually through his actions showed us this, there were so many indications, and we'll get to another ad in just a second that also touches on this. But I think some people felt shocked by Trump in 2020 and 2021 trying to undemocratically overthrow an election to keep himself in office, a very authoritarian thing to do. If he had been successful in these allegedly illegal schemes the prosecutors are prosecuting him for, then he would have stayed president despite a free and fair election saying otherwise. And that is something that someone who doesn't respect democracy, who likes the idea of an autocracy, does. That's someone with principles that prioritizes that sort of dictatorial thing over a democratic government and society. And so the fact that he did these things, yes, it was horrific, but it shouldn't have been as surprising as it was to many of us. Putting together the fake elector scheme, pressuring officials to engage in fraud and disenfranchise millions of voters, and trying to get his vice president to go along with this scheme to install him as president despite losing, considering invoking the Insurrection Act, or invoking martial law, I should say, to deploy the military to stop the peaceful transfer of power, and of course inciting a mob to attack the Capitol to block the certification of the election. And doing all of that was him so badly wanting to hold on to power and caring more about that than respecting our democracy, which is the number one characteristic of a dictator. And so before we even saw him do all of that, things like what you just saw in that video should have given us an indication. His absolute love for, the way that he was in awe of these dictators across the world, and the way he spoke about them. It wasn't your sort of boilerplate, hey, we're two world leaders, so I'm going to speak respectfully to you. It was always about things that, or very often about things that connect directly to their dictatorial powers. He'll say, you know, Xi Jinping, he rules with an iron fist, and Kim Jong-un, whenever he walks by people, they stand at attention. I want my people to stand at attention, he's said to Steve Doocy. And that's the part of these leaders that makes him love them so much. It's that they have a dictatorial power over the country, and he longs so much for that. And so we should have been opposed to this authoritarian characteristic of Donald Trump before we had to see it in action. But now that we've seen it in action, we really have to reject him fully. Here, before I say more, is another ad, this one from the Biden-Harris HQ. And this one is about Trump promoting violence.
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you. Knock the crap out of him, would you? Seriously. Okay? Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fee.
26-year-old Rakeem Jones was punched in the face as he was escorted out of Donald Trump's rally last night.
Yes, he deserved it. The next time we see him, we might have to kill him.
Very fine people on both sides.
Get the fuck out of here! Jews will not replace us!
And right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Multiple capital injuries. Multiple capital injuries.
So another characteristic there of a dictatorial leader, being willing to weaponize your followers, your supporters toward violent ends. And after all these allegedly illegal schemes didn't work to block the peaceful transfer of power, he then incited the mob to attack the Capitol. And to this day, he's celebrating those people, pinned on his Truth Social account. As you can see here, January 6 hostages with President Donald J. Trump, and it's the national anthem being sung by these January 6 prisoners. He calls them hostages. Vile stuff, but that's what he's celebrating. So celebrating, encouraging, promoting, and then weaponizing this political violence, authoritarian 101. And it's concerning seeing how out in the open he is with this stuff, and how a lot of Americans still just don't get it or care. And he's telling us what he wants. In the clips you saw in the first video, he wants what he admires. And then watching what he tried to do in blocking the peaceful transfer of power, throwing out our democratic process, and now him on Truth Social calling for the termination of the Constitution, saying the government should go after media outlets he doesn't like, calling the media criminals, saying he's going to lock up his political opponents in a second term, saying it would be justified to execute his former top general because he's not loyal enough to Trump. And you just go on and on and on. And that guy, there's the polling shows there's a chance he could win the presidency. Stunning. He's telling us what he wants and who he is. Let's just believe him and vote accordingly. Please make sure you are subscribed to this channel.